Hey everybody, Jacob here. Today we're going to be talking about Neumann's new MCM 114 microphone system. Now Neumann is obviously a company that needs no introduction. They're legendary for designing some of the top studio microphones in the history of recording. But now Neumann has decided to toss their hat into the ring of the mini condenser market. This has traditionally been the realm of companies like DPA, Remic, and Countryman. Like their competitors, Neumann has essentially decided to go with using the exact same capsule, but with different mounting options, not only for bowed strings, but for woodwinds, drums, and piano as well. And with a top-end price comparable to the venerable DPA 4099, the real question is, how does the Neumann sound, and how does it stack up to the competition? Today, we're going to find out. Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of the pickuptest.com, an electric string player. I'm Jacob, this is Megan, and of course, the wonderful, the one and only, the amazing Colin Liebig.
Thanks, baby.
So this particular mic is obviously a direct competitor in almost every way to the DPA, to the 4099, right?
Yeah.
Everything from the concept of having a single capsule that has different mounting options for not just strings, but any type of orchestral instrument, all the way down to the price range they're offering this at.
How much are they?
They $699.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yes.
Industry standard.
Exactly. Industry standard.
I think I asked somebody at the Hollywood Bowl recently, and every one of those they've got a $40.99.
Sure, like we see those all over town, any type of TV work, live recording. So obviously Neumann saw a great chance to kind of get into this particular market. So what were your initial impressions, Megan, as a player, just in terms of mounting it, how it felt to put on your instrument and play with it?
Well, I thought it looked a lot more intuitive to me. It made a little more sense. The clamp itself has a little spring versus the way that the DPAs have when you have to kind of push it in. They're both different. I think they're both useful. But I remember when I first got the DPA, it was just kind of confusing to me versus Neumann. It was like, okay, here's the hole, you put the mic in. So right off the bat, in terms of usability and where to put it on.
I really like the ease of convenience of the Neumann, particularly how one could attach it to the violin with just one hand using the thumb rest and spring system, and also the simple push-in, pull-out cable connector, as opposed to the tiny microdot screw on the DPA.
I have to say, I think the DPA, just the look-wise, just a little bit more elegant. Like the cable itself is thinner, where the gooseneck is just a little bit more flexible. I think that on the Neumann, the way that you're hosting it on there, you could kind of flip it around more like a 360, but I don't really see
if you're looking for a unit that just disappears on your instrument and looks as transparent as possible on stage, DPA is the clear winner here. Even the windscreen on the Neumann seems unusually and unnecessarily large compared to the DPA. I also thought, especially looking at it on the violin, the cable routing is a little bit awkward, how it comes off the side, whereas the DPA, you know, they've been in this game for a very long time, and they've given this a lot of thought. I always put them right up there with Remic and maybe Schertler as the ones who have definitely the most elegantly engineered and kind of the least amount of clutter going on.
Because in the back end of that, it kind of sticks out. And I'm always a little worried about just having too many things to get caught on. If I'm wearing earrings or whatever it is, my hair just gets more chances of getting pulled on.
Right. It could also create a problem, especially for violin players, when say you're holding the instrument in rest position, or if you're strumming it like that, having that big pointy thing pointing out seems a little bit of an odd choice.
But honestly, even like trying to strum it with both goosenecks, they're both just kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Like I don't really play when I have both of them.
For sure. That's more of a pickup thing.
We
also love how every single piece of the Neumann, from the cables to the capsule itself, can be individually repurchased and replaced, albeit at absolutely insane prices that only Neumann or maybe Apple could get away with. I mean, $70 for a single cello clip, which is probably just a piece of plastic. Sheesh. This is a pretty new product, so new in fact that the cello clip was not sent to us because they don't have any yet. They're not even selling them yet in Sweetwater. I don't know, supply chain issue, something, but it does look exactly like the DPA. And I noticed the DPA clamp even fits the Neumann, for those of you that might be interested.
Well, I mean, you can only make it so many different.
Right. It was definitely a great thing, but it looks like the capsule of the DPA might be removable. In which case, in future product releases, you may be able to get on the same gooseneck, a hypercardioid or maybe even an omni version for situations where maybe it's a solo performance or something where you can get away with having a kind of a broader
string section quartet.
Yeah, exactly. We actually put both capsules, mounted them right next to each other, snuggled up in sort of a Frankenstein kind of manner, so that you can really hear as closely as possible what these capsules do.
These went through two 1084s, two Neve style 1084s, BAEs, and the identical mic pre's, identical everything through my desk.
Right.
So it's important to know that what we recorded.
Yeah, and the Neumann was actually a little bit less hot. So when
5 dB difference.
About 5 dB difference.
That was surprising to me.
Yeah.
And the DPA gave you plenty to work with.
Yeah.
The Neumann, I had to pick it up.
Right.
Pick up the levels.
The DPA does have that internal core preamp, and I'm not sure if there's anything active.
Move.
Yes, and that's something that evolved. They didn't have, that's something that they added to these existing products and developed a couple of years ago after, over a decade of, not having that type of technology. So again,
sure, and
evolving.
Just depending what desk you're going through, how you're amplifying it, all those things are important.
Yeah.
Pretty smart move.
Yeah.
Okay, we're
So Colin, what were some of your impressions from an engineering standpoint?
You know, it's interesting because the DPA it gave me more signal, more to work with. Dynamics seemed to me to be a little more broad. The Neumann was a little darker, but yet the Neumann was smooth. So when I did apply EQ, which I tried, it was easier with the Neumann to get a sound that was more pleasing. I think the DPA had a puffiness to it, or a roundness somewhere in the low mids. I think it was around
700
hertz.
Yeah.
So I had to pull that back a bit, and I swept to find where it was a little girthy.
Most clip-on mics are designed to handle quiet and mostly acoustic situations. Think about gypsy jazz, chamber music like string quartets, or even sitting in a larger string section. But in recent years, microphones like the DPA 4099 and the Remic microphones have added a new dimension, adding more sound isolation, which has given string players the ability to use microphones in louder situations than we used to be able to do, including stepping out with band and being able to play with drums, keyboards, bass players, and still giving the sound man enough of our instrument to work with. And because this new entry from Neumann is definitely in this latter category and competing in the exact same price range, we decided to add an ambient sound rejection test along with the tabletop review and sound library. And because this is one of those rare products that was clearly created with another product in mind, we brought our DPA 4099s along for the ride. We had it cranked at about 90 dB in the room and kind of shot them out because that's such a important use case for these types of microphones. Hey, if you got to this point in the video, you're one of the few string players out there that can really understand and appreciate content like this. And while the world of creative string playing has been growing, there's not nearly enough of us out there compared to guitar, bass, or synth players to support and monetize a channel like this through YouTube. At Electric String Player in the Pickup Test, we don't run ads, refuse sponsors, and to keep our reviews as honest and unbiased as possible, we never run any ads on our site or YouTube page, have no sponsors, and don't represent any shops or stores trying to sell you anything. But after studio and rental fees as well as camera people, these videos cost a lot of money and take a lot of time to make. So if you can, please consider joining our community at www.thepickuptest.com. We're entirely community supported, and if you're a bowed string player that's serious about amplification, there's still nothing else like it. Thank you for your support. Yeah, it's interesting too that the Neumann, looking at the manual, the Neumann claims it's a cardioid, and the DPA claims it's the world's first miniature shotgun electrode and hypercardioid. Yeah. And what you were saying, Colin, is that they're really trying to get the feeling or the character of a dynamic microphone, but with such low voltage, obviously you couldn't get away with a small
quality in sound.
Sure, dynamic range, and
I would like to see what it looks like, what the pattern look like, or the curves look like. It's fascinating, and see what they do on other instruments as well.
But to our ears, it was interesting that the DPA, while it did reject more noise, it wasn't a gigantic difference. Like the Neumann definitely held its own.
Oh yeah, no, they were very close. And what was interesting is the dynamics where they kind of held it back. The DPA definitely took care of the piano in the recording we used, whereas the Neumann a little more piano got through.
Right, but the bass, it killed more bass.
The Neumann kind of reduced the bass, I believe.
Yeah.
And they were trading off in those areas, which was kind of fascinating, but very close.
Yeah,
very close, and impressive. Because when you really look at the fact we were going above 80 dB, closer to 90 dB, and the amount of noise that was rejected was fantastic.
Yeah, an engineer would have a lot to work with in either case.
Oh yeah, if you're mixing live sound, it's going to make it a hell of a lot easier with all that bleed and whatnot. Especially let's get it out of an orchestra into a barroom situation, where you really do have loud drums, high SPL. The two mics, they're both high quality mics. Definitely the DPA is more evolved. You can tell they've been doing this a while. I see what Neumann's getting at. Their take on it is fascinating. I can't say, oh well, I would definitely go with that one or that one. It depends, because when you try one on a cello versus a violin, they're different.
Oh sure,
different personalities.
Absolutely.
So it's a toss-up. I like where Neumann's going with the sound of it.
Yeah, and this is why we do the pickup test, right? Because you're going to get to hear my cello, Megan's violin. In the end, right, it all comes down to sound, and you should listen for yourself and decide which one you think is the best mic for you.
What a great first mic from Neumann.
Absolutely, very impressive debut, guys. I think that's probably it for now. Check out the side-by-side comparisons and check out the noise reduction test on thepickuptest.com.
I think we dragged him around pretty good and beat him up.
I think so too.
Nice.
I think so too. So for Colin and Megan, I'm Jacob, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.